pleasure to meet you, Frederic.
Hi, Marsha. Hi. So it will be in French. That's what I understood, right?
What you hear coming out of my mouth, you tell yourself that is French, and we're just going to confuse the heck out of our viewers. Thank you for joining us for sure, Frederic. So we haven't had the pleasure to meet in person. Was fortunate to know and work alongside Gerard Neveu, covering the WEC for many years. Spent about a decade traveling each year to Le Mans, one of my favorite parts of my career, Frederic. So before we start with the state of the World Endurance Championship, LMEM, and all of the deeper technical or process side, let's start with you. Gerard, big personality. If there was a camera nearby, he was going towards the camera. A person with a big personality, always trying to bring himself in the sport to the public. At least for what I've observed, you have taken a more reserved role. You're wanting to bring the health of the series forward instead of yourself being always on television. Tell us about your background for those who might not know about you and where you come from, because that's an important part of what led you to pick up the baton from Gerard.
I'm going to try to make, let's say, a quick sum up of my career. I started in the motorsport industry 20 years ago. At the time, I was working for Eurosport, the television network in Europe, and we just launched Eurosport Events. And Eurosport Events in 2000 was in charge of the organization of the Super Racing Weekend. Inside the Super Racing Weekend, we used to have the FIA GT and the ETCC, which was before the World Endurance Touring Car, and also all the support races organized by Renault Sport. So I did that during almost 5 years until 2004. And then I switched to a complete different world, to the world of, let's say, off-road racing. I was the deputy CEO of the Dakar Rally during 8 years.
So your background seems perfect for what you're doing now. And I love that, because if you think about where the WEC, European Le Mans Series, Asian Le Mans Series, all the places that they participate, it would seem to be a perfect fit for your background, Frederic, knowing that whether it is Africa Safari, whether it is all the other things that you mentioned, it seems like the diversity of your background is a perfect blend for international endurance racing. Is that what attracted you to this position?
Yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, let's say that the international side of the job is very important, and I know one thing is that from my background, I mean that I travel a lot. I met different people, different cultures, and that helped me a lot to organize the WEC, of course. In 2011, I decided to left a Motorsport organization, I mean the owner of the Dakar Rally, and I co-create my own event. The name is the Silk Road Rally, in French, the La Route de la Soie. It was from Moscow to Beijing. So I can tell you that, yes, definitely, I'm used to work with different types of culture. I mean, Americans, Russians, Chinese, French, Europeans, almost everybody.
Boy, those are some very different personalities to deal with there, Frederic. Before we start speaking about future, let's talk about what we just concluded with the FIA World Endurance Championship season, launching the new hypercar class and formula. Interesting mix there with Toyota continuing to represent the pinnacle of technology with their championship winning prototype. Bit of grandfathering, of course, bringing some of the popular LMP1 cars back, at least in this debut season. Terrific GT competition throughout the season. How do you feel about this 2021 year you have put to bed in terms of introducing new things, the impact, maybe your thoughts on hypercar to debut, and some of the consistent classes you've had that performed, I would hope, as expected?
So you know that the 2021 season was the first season that we welcomed the hypercar category. It was indeed with two teams, Toyota and Glickenhaus. So it was really fantastic for the fans to see those cars for the first time. Very honestly, I was very impressed by the level of the teams and the technology you can find inside the cars. I mean, Toyota is still at top level, of course, and I think we'll talk about this later, but they will have a lot of, let's say, competitors in the future. So maybe less comfort, I would say, for them. Glickenhaus was not bad, really. I mean, they did some really impressive results at Le Mans, 24 hours of Le Mans. And we also had a fantastic battle in the P2 category, which is, let's say, the second step of the championship. It was very close between the competitors. And in the GT cars, I mean, the battle was really until the end between Ferrari and Porsche. So it was an exciting season. I mean, we used to say that 2021 and maybe 22 is kind of transition period, but I don't like to say that. I mean, that I think that we offer to the fan some full sport and some action. So it was good. Yes, very good.
Just finished speaking with Michael Andretti, who runs 7 different motor racing teams. One of the topics that we discussed here in America was how COVID-19 affected his program in 2020 and some of the business challenges it posed. Would be interested, Frédéric, to hear, and I know that, again, you've taken this leadership role coming into 2021, but you had to have felt the effects as an international series, one that don't know if easier is how I would put it, but staying in America to compete in IndyCar, very different than crossing every border in the world, it seems. You're a flying championship where you descend upon many regions or drive across big borders. Tell us about the effects of COVID-19 coming into 2021. Did you feel that it had an adverse effect? Did you feel like your teams in the paddock, also your managerial team, managed it well? Is it behind you?
Yeah. That's a very interesting question, and this is something we like to share with other organizers or federation, because of course we have been affected by the COVID at the beginning of the season. We had to cancel Sebring, for example. So we decided at the last minute not go to the US, which was a drama for us, because I mean it was very exciting for the teams, for the fans, for us. So I think that one of the key, if you do not want to, let's say, if you want to survive, and because the most important was to organize the same amount of races, the same amount of rounds during the season. That was the most important thing. And I would say that for this season, let's forget the fact that we are a world championship, and we have to accept that we have to replace the race, mainly in Europe, and we finish the season in the Middle East, you know that, in Bahrain. So of course, I just want to congratulate again the organization team, because I think that they have a capacity to react to this kind of situation, which is fantastic. I mean, that in 2 weeks, I mean, we took the decision to not go to Sebring because it was impossible because of the travel restrictions. Sorry. And then we organized a race in Portugal, in Portimao. So, I mean, that we must have this capacity to react quickly. As a promoter, as an organizer, we cannot say to the teams, sorry, we have to cancel the race. We can say that, but we have to replace by another one. It was very important for us to do that this season. At the end, I think we took the right decisions, because we delivered 6 races. It was the plan to do that. We moved Le Mans to an unusual date at the end of August, but that permitted us to welcome 50,000 fans instead, of course, 250,000, but it was better than nothing. So once again, in this very strange world, we change our way to work. I mean, that we cannot think like we are thinking in the past. every day when we wake up, when we arrive at the office, we have to think that maybe at the end of the day, it will be a different story. So we must be capable to change and to react very quickly. And thanks to my experience in the Dakar Rally, because believe me, I was used to organize things in kind of crisis situation.
Let's start to get into some specifics, Frederick. You mentioned Super Sebring. The last time that I was able to see the WEC compete in person was indeed 2019 in Florida. How are plans coming along for returning to America next year, for Super Sebring to happen as it's meant to be, a giant celebration of endurance competition with IMSA at really the home of endurance racing here at Sebring? How is that coming along? Are there any new challenges or ongoing challenges, logistically or otherwise, you foresee to slow things at all?
No, at the moment, I would say that we have to be very positive. I do not see any red lights. We are just a little bit worried with the new variant, that we heard about the last few days. But normally it should be okay. So we should start the season in Sebring, for the Super Sebring, mid-March, which will be fantastic. We love to go there. We love to work with the IMSA. And I take the opportunity to say hello to John, Dunan, and all the teams. I know we will speak after or maybe before, I don't know. But once again, this is a very important moment of the season. And no, at the moment, once again, we do not think to not go. We will go, and we'll have to take the final decisions beginning of, let's say, February maximum. But right now, it's quite okay.
Awesome. I'm going to get my travel booked as soon as we're done here. Frederick, ask a few more US related questions before we move on to some European or international related questions to LMEM, the WEC, etc. Collaboration with IMSA, renewal and extension of this agreement came down in August. Can you tell me about this relationship as someone coming in to continue leading the WEC, recently getting to meet and know, you mentioned John Doonan, could be Jim France, Ed Bennett, the leadership there. Can you tell me about how this relationship is going between your organizations and also on a personal front with you getting to know these crazy Americans?
Now, I mean, the relationship we have with IMSA is just exceptional. It is based on mutual understanding, trust, and we all focus on only one goal. We want to make this sport very strong, and we try to go together in the same, the same direction all the time. And what we achieve clearly with the convergence, with the regulation, with the hypercar, with the LMDH, the LMH, is something which is really a big step for sport car and road racing, because maybe for the first time, and one car manufacturer will be able to race on both sides of the Atlantic. So this is really great news. And once again, I thank you very much, Jim, Ed, John. I mean, that it's a pleasure to work with them, really. I'm very sincere. I do not remember that in my career, I mean, it's something which is very, once again, it's all about trust. I cannot say more than this.
Very interesting present and future, Frederick. If we look at the two organizations, we have IMSA that has said, we love GT Le Mans, known as GTE Pro, GTE AM, and the WEC. We love this class, this formula, but we don't have the numbers to sustain it. So we're going to modify our approach, add a class based on GT3 racing, but for factories or independents who want to go compete against factories with GTD Pro. Can you speak a little bit about GT strategy? As we know at Le Mans, there was a mention that we're going to evaluate. We're not committing to any specific timeline, but do you think there is a
that's something important? Yeah, that's something important. I can remind what we officially said during 24 hours of Le Mans, and after is that for 2024, it will be the end of the GTE, and we will switch to, let's say, new GT regulation, which will be based on the GT3 regulation. So it's clear that we are going to do this. We are still thinking about having something which will be a little bit different from the GT3. It could be the GT3 Le Mans, something like this, where we are currently working on this. And one thing is also 100% sure is that after for 2024, we'll have only GT Pro Am, not Pro. This is over. We want some Pro Am category in GT.
Interesting. And where I think this holds so much interest, Frederick, for certainly IMSA teams, but maybe WEC, ELMS as well, is we know that currently we had some alignment where IMSA teams could take their cars that complied with ACO, FIWC rules and go to Le Mans. We know that when we get to 2023, we will have the launch of LMDH to go with LMH, your hypercars. So there will be that ability for cars to go back and forth across the Atlantic, compete in each other's championship.
Yeah.
Are you working with IMSA on how that might be possible on the GT front, as you mentioned, 2024? Is this an active topic of discussion? Because I'm sure current GTD entrants and upcoming GTD Pro entrants would love to know that, 24 hours of Le Mans or wherever else could be possible as well.
No, it's clear that we are working very hard with them at the moment. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you more than this at the moment, but this is a very serious topic. And once again, we'll do everything which is possible, for the sport and for the fans. So, but it's clear that anyway, the GT category will remain a very strong one and very impressive for everybody.
Let's talk about
I don't know, we expect to have in 2023 not less than 7 car manufacturers in hypercars. So at the moment, let's say that we have to focus on hypercar and GT, and it's a tough work.
Let's talk about calendar, Frederick. So
yes.
Looking at 2022, could say that it's another short-ish calendar, not as many races as we've seen in the past.
Yes.
Do you foresee that changing anytime in future calendars? Is there a number you'd like to get up to at some point, 8, 9, whatever the number might be, but do you foresee an expansion of the calendar back to what we had not so long ago?
Yeah, and thank you for asking, because we strongly believe that it was the right decision to maintain 6 rounds for the next season for obvious reasons. That we still have to manage this COVID situation, and that affects the budget of everybody, and especially the budget of the teams. So once again, we prefer to do something which is, let's say, safe in terms of organization. Instead, saying that we are going to do 7, 8, 9 rounds and then cancel some events. So we wanted to stay reasonable, close to the reality, economic reality, and it was really appreciated by the teams. But you're right, for 2023, we should increase by 1 race, and 2024 by 2. So anyway, as we race 6 to 8 to 24 hours, the WEC has no intention to have 12 or 15 races a year. It's not possible. So I would say that 8, maybe 9 as maximum is the right format. Sorry.
Interesting. WEC has been strong in the position, Frederick, of an app that you can view races through, timing and scoring. Over the years, there have been levels, right? There's been opportunity for free aspects to the app. Some things you can see, but others you need to pay for. Look at Formula One, for example. They have grown a lot recently, especially here in America. Many new fans, they've done a favorable deal with one of our biggest sport networks, ESPN, almost giving away their content in order to grow their base. Curious, as you look to whether it's America or any other region, and this powerful app that you have to bring your series to folks' phones, tablets, or otherwise, do you ever see going away from the pay aspect so that anyone can get it anytime? Is there a value to that for the business, for the sponsors and manufacturers, or is there still a commercial side where the costs are serious and you need to pay for that through charging? Curious your philosophy.
I mean, the app is something which is very important to us because that gives the possibility for different fans all over the world for the race live to see some fantastic onboard cameras also. So of course we believe that this is something which is very important, and we are going to invest. I mean, I would say a lot of money. I mean, to have a very strong app in the future, different one. But once again, I think that especially the TV rights market is changing a lot at the moment, and this is a strategy we are working on right now. I mean, the digital is more and more important for us, and but we have to manage that. I would say with permanently with the TV rights. We cannot do what we want. We have to respect the contract we have signed with some very important partner. I'm thinking about Discovery, Eurosport, or something like this. So it's not so easy work, but it's clear that our strategy is to go more and more on the digital and to keep some very strong partner for, let's say, television. And we know that our format, I mean, the format of sport car and endurance racing is not the perfect one for television. It's much more adapted for an app, for example. You can go, you can exit, you can choose what you want to see, but on television, you cannot broadcast 6, 8, or 24 hours of live. It's not possible at the moment. So digital is important, but once again, we do not have to forget that we still have some very important contracts in terms of TV broadcast, and so we have to work all together to deliver something which is good for the fans.
Endurance racing is really the only form of motorsport, Frederick, where the fans also have to endure. They go to the grocery store before a major event, buy their drinks and food to be prepared for 4, 6, 10, 12, 24 hours. So that's also something else we should be watching. Speaking of watching, every series, motor racing series in the world that is not Formula One has been asking itself, how do we come up with our version of Netflix's Drive to Survive? That's been a very powerful promotional tool for Formula One. I hear it here in America. Again, IMSA, IndyCar, everybody wants their own to make the world love their racing series. Where does the FIA WEC fit into this? Will we see many new cameras on pit lane next season, putting together a documentary? Is this a desire for you as well, or something your organization is working on trying to make happen?
It's more than a desire. I mean, that we, unfortunately, I would like to announce something, but I cannot. But that's, of course, yes, we are working with some very big players, and we should announce something very, yeah, definitely.
I love it.
We believe in, and I think that from the next season you will start to see, as you said, a lot of reporters, cameras, almost everywhere.
Got about.
Do not forget that in 2023 it will be the centenary of Le Mans. So
yes.
To celebrate.
Yes, I need to start walking to make sure that I get there in time for the race. Got about 5 minutes left, Frederick. So we throw in a few deeper questions. Been reading and hearing a little bit about some teams getting manufacturers trying to get ready for their upcoming hypercar debuts at whatever point in time they'll be ready. National manufacturer, very important one in terms of history at Le Mans, Peugeot. What can you tell us? What do you know about when we might see them? Again, I'm not asking you to break their news, but there have been questions. Will they be ready for Le Mans next year or later? Can you give us any insights about that? Because I have to believe many folks want to cheer for the Lion returning to Le Mans.
Yeah, so about Peugeot, I mean that they still, I mean, have the goal to start the season in Spa and to be ready for 24 hours of Le Mans. So we should see them beginning of May. Of course, I cannot. I mean, for me, that's difficult to give you more information than this. This is the goal. I know that they will run some private tests at the end of the year, so they should be ready. And we cross our fingers. I mean, we hope they will be there to start the season with us, of course. Yeah.
Let's stay with that for just a moment, because I would have to imagine from your position and many of those that you work with and your colleagues, you want nothing more than today to be able to say and start promoting, make posters and social media posts that Peugeot will be at Le Mans, this manufacturer, and that would certainly help from a promotional standpoint. How do you manage the fact that you might not be able to do all of that, whether it's now or include some manufacturers in the build up to the next season, because they still have to get their work done on their own timeline? It'd be great for you to say, come see them, but how do you manage not always being able to do that, knowing that it might help, but you can't say yes if they haven't said yes 100%?
Yeah, that's very funny. I was in a meeting this morning, and our communication team presented us a new poster, and I can tell you that in one of those posters there was a Peugeot on it, and I was thinking, I hope they will not be late. Of course, it's sometimes it could be a risky game, but I mean, this is motorsport. I mean, I do not have the feeling that we are cheating with our fans. I mean, that everybody can read that they announced that they will be there, and of course, if they miss Le Mans or something like this, it's for obvious reasons. They have to be ready, so we have to accept that. So it's a part of the game. We have to accept that.
There must be a beautiful 908 HDI FAP 2009 Le Mans winning car sitting in the museum we can fire up and race. Just let us know. You just wink. You don't have to say it, but just wink if we'll let that happen if we don't get the brand new 9X8. Let me ask one more question, Frederic, before we say farewell. So I mentioned some crazy Americans running IMSA, and I say that jokingly. You do have one of the, I don't know if I'd say crazy, but biggest personalities of any team owner, that being Jim Glickenhaus, being part of the WEC. Beautiful looking car. I would say far exceeded expectations for their debut season with the 007. Not a full-time entry though. What can you tell us about hopefully getting to see them full-time next season with at least one car, and how much, I'll say the word fun, is it dealing with a very passionate man like Jim Glickenhaus sometimes?
Jim has made an announcement 2 weeks ago that he will participate with at least one car for the whole season of the WRC season, all the races, which is very good. I mean, that we expected to hear that. We had a long talk with Jim together, and I said to him that I have very big respect for what he has achieved. I mean, he's new, and I mean, the results were super good. I mean, the media, I mean, the fans, they love this team, and
he's the best. He's the best, and they're the best.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, I want to repeat that we have a lot of respect for what he has achieved the last season. Saying that, I also said to Jim that to be fantastic for everybody to participate in the world season. I mean, that it's also a question of, I will not say respect for the other competitors, but I mean, we are running an FIA World Championship. We have to respect some regulations, and Jim understood that very well. And then, you know, after very short discussions, in 2 days, he took his decision and made the announcement that he will participate for all the rounds, you know, all the runs during all the season. So really, thanks for that. And once again, I mean, the team is fantastic. Jim is an incredible character. I mean, he's really. I mean, it's so nice to have him on the paddock. And for the WEC and for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, I mean, this is great, really.
Frederick, thank you so much for taking some time here at the EPARTRADE.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you so much.
Race Industry Week 2021.
The concept for EPARTRADE is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for EPARTRADE is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and to get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
At EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you know you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of EPARTRADE. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
There are two types of people, racers and everyone else. Racer Magazine is for those who believe that racing is a way of life. Racer embodies the excellence that defines a sport driven by passion, courage, and ingenuity. Get 1 year of both Racer's print and digital edition for only $39 with instant access to our entire digital issue archive. Subscribe now at info.racer.com.